being 7 p.m. on February the 10th, I'd like to call the Whittier Regional Vocational Technical High School meeting to order. Our first order of business is to salute the flag. Will you all please rise? You ready, my dear? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me. Our first order of business is public comment. Are there any individual like to speak before the board in a public comment?
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on for a second. Okay, now have the approval of the minutes. Yes, Mr.
Chairman.
Tucker.
I'd like to move the minutes of the regular school committee meeting of January 13th.
Second.
Are there any deletions, omissions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I abstain.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Treasury
The
report.
acceptance of the treasurer's report for January.
Second.
Any questions or additional information needed? I'm being heard. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? One abstention. Unanimous. Now we'll move on to old business. We have the district governance program. We have a representative from MASC here, Mr. Gilbert.
Two representatives.
Oh, we have two.
Dorothy.
Oh, I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Step up and,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
good evening, sir.
It's always good to be back here at Whittier. I was asked through Elena and Maureen to come tonight to talk to you about the district governance program. Just happens that Dorothy Presser, who works for us as the field director for district governance, was available tonight, and so I'm going to let her tell you about the program that MASC has developed to help school committees understand their governance role better.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here tonight to talk about one of my favorite topics. So as Mike said, I'm here to tell you about the district governance program. I believe Mike said that he gave you some information about it already. So the district governance program actually started several years ago as a program that was a coordinated effort between the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The idea of the project is to bring to school committees the best practices that have been developed that can help school committees adopt those practices and further student achievement in their district. It's a research-based program. It's based on several pieces of research where school committees have been studied to determine what are the practices and the attributes of school committees that actually have a positive effect on student achievement. So through that research, we developed the district governance program so that we could bring those best practices to school committees. One of the big advantages of the program at this point is the number of committees in Massachusetts that have participated. We have over 50 committees that have participated in the program, level 1 districts down to level 4 districts, and vocational schools, regional schools, suburban, urban, all different kinds of districts. So we're able to not only bring you the best practices of school committees from around the country or those research-based best practices, but we can also kind of cross-pollinate good ideas. So when I'm talking to school committees a lot of time and they're wrestling with, well, you know, we're kind of struggling with this issue or how do we handle this, often I can bring to them ideas of how another school committee has handled the situation. So it's not only those best practices, but sharing even amongst Massachusetts school committees best practices between districts. And many districts have found that beneficial. Sometimes they hear what I have to say and they say, that wouldn't work here very well. But other times they say, yeah, we could do that or we could do something like that. And it helps them move along a little bit. You may have seen in the pamphlet that you got that there are 5 basic workshops in the program that take about 2 hours each. However, it's a really, really flexible program. We really work hard to bring you what you need to move forward and not retread over ground that you may already have trod upon, so that we're able to we want to be able to use your time efficiently and effectively. Part of the benefits of this program is that the committee participates together with the superintendent. We consider the superintendent and the committee together to be that governance team that needs to be working in harmony to move the district forward. So instead of a couple people maybe going off to a conference or to a charting the course or something like that, the whole committee participates together and can talk about what's important to your committee now, and move you forward from where you are to the next level. So in thinking about the 5 workshops, often there are 5 workshops that committees participate in, but there are committees that have already done a good job of getting their goals established, or they already have operating protocols, or they already have an agenda that they're happy with. So in those instances, we can combine them into less than 5 workshops, or we can do something so that, again, we're not treading over things you've already done, but we're using your time efficiently and effectively. And before any workshop, I always touch base with the superintendent and the chair to kind of preview what's going on, so that you can say, sometimes give me background so that I can better present to you, or you can say, you know, we can move quickly through that, or that's not where we are right now, or tell me other issues that you really want to be able to dig in on. So it's very tailored to your committee. And then the timing is really up to you too. Committees do it different ways. Sometimes it's a Saturday morning, sometimes it's before a regular meeting, sometimes it's on an off meeting night, but it's whatever is good for you. We do suggest that there be about a month to 6 weeks between workshops if you're doing several workshops, so that you have time to think about what you learned, and there's usually a little work product that we ask you to have ready for the next meeting. So in order for you to have time to get that done for the next meeting. So it's not like boom, 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 boom either. It can be spread out and on your time frame. The 5 basic workshops, we have sort of a mnemonic of building your district's schoolhouse. We figure a lot of school committee members are familiar with the school building projects, so that seemed like a good metaphor for us to use. We start with the foundation, which is building your operating protocols, and talking about how does this committee work together and communicate together in a way that's effective. It's different for different committees. Committees have their own personalities, so it's not like there's one set of operating protocols that works for every committee. So we talk about what works for you and how can you operate and communicate smoothly together to get your work done. From there, we move into building the infrastructure, where we talk about monitoring, having your goals that help you move forward, monitoring the progress towards those goals. And we talk about framing the work through having effective meetings. And then we move on to how do you sustain the practices that you've established now over time, over changes on the committee. And that, I was speaking a little bit before the workshop, that's where developing a handbook for committee members comes in, that you would have that for yourselves and for new members with some of the work products that you've developed, or some of the policies and the different products that you have in the district that enable you over time to continue to work smoothly. So that's a brief overview of the program. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yes, Mr. Tucker.
Well, one about the open meeting law versus having workshops. If we have enough members to make a quorum, it has to be posted, open meeting?
It does. It has to be a posted open meeting. But it's just a workshop instead of a business meeting. Actually, one of the practices that we find of effective school committees is that every meeting is not a business meeting, but sometimes you have those workshops that are more topic specific, that enable you to sort of delve into some discussion that might be harder in a business meeting setting.
Is this directed more at school committee persons, or do you try and bring in all the what are the stakeholders, if you will?
It depends on your
For our workshop.
Right, it's your choice. The vast majority of the time, it is the school committee and superintendent only. But there are times when school committees choose to bring in other administrators that might benefit from the discussion. But most of the time, it is the school committee and the superintendent only.
So they're all open, regular open open school committee meetings.
They are.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Well, basically, I feel that's something we should look into, see what the interest would be, and that will, what I like to do is, for everybody else, we can schedule it, you know, as an agenda item, so we can all discuss it, see if we want to participate, how much we want to get involved. But I would recommend we probably do it after April, because we're right in the throes of the budget. We have a couple, you know, executive board meeting, workshop, be a lot going on. But after that, I think we'll put it on the agenda and have an open discussion on it and see where we want to go.
Okay. I forgot one of my best selling points.
What's that?
This is a member service. There's no additional charge.
That was my-
Well, well, thank you for that.
There's no additional charge for your participating in it.
We have some relatively new members that, yes, Alana.
I just want to reaffirm with Dorothy that this is, if we attempt to do this project, that it's going to be most beneficial if we have the majority of our school committee here.
Yes.
Because we don't want a handful of people trying to make decisions for the others. So we're either in or we're not.
Right.
If I hope you all understand that. It's something we really, if we're going to do it, we really need to do it right.
Yeah,
So-
and that's why I feel that if we put it on the agenda, then we
Yeah.
can get a firm, if people are interested, a commitment from those members that want to attend, and hopefully.
And
Yeah.
if I could just say too, I think Maureen looked at the packet and Joanna and I have looked at it, and I don't think this committee really needs all 5 in-depth sessions. So we
Right.
can condense it so it's not so much of a burden on everybody, but we can certainly talk about that, and I do appreciate your coming, Dorothy, I really.
Problem. I certainly have had committees that I've worked with where it hasn't been 5. I've covered as much of the material as was beneficial to them, but it wasn't all the material because they were well along the way on some of the topics. So we just kind of maybe did a quick review and moved on to the next thing, to use that topic to sort of frame the next discussion.
And if you don't do all 5 sessions, do you still end up with a handbook?
Absolutely.
It still is all.
If that's what you want, that's
Yeah,
what you get.
okay. That's what we want, Joanna. Thank you, Dorothy.
You're very welcome.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead, Ms. True.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that also, you know, after the budget meeting, I mean, the budget is completed, I think that's a good idea. Also, we have, I noticed that we have the self-evaluation coming up, so we'd have that also done. And so, you know, that
Yeah,
might
oh,
help
yeah.
us to figure out
I
what
think it's-
direction we'd like to take it in. And
I think it's a
how
very
do
worth-
you typically determine, you know, you said you talk to the chairman and you speak to the superintendent and you come up with what maybe what the first meeting would look like? In other words, if you had to skip the first 3 workshops and go to workshop number 4, I'm just giving an example.
Right, well,
Is that how you would determine that?
Yeah, in conversation with them, but if you have a self-evaluation that would also inform what might be beneficial, that would be absolutely terrific.
So that would help you, we could submit
Make it a
information.
workshop.
Well, that's what it would be.
Make it
Yeah.
a workshop on
Yeah.
self-improvement.
And that's the intent.
And then, right, and then in the long run, we get the handbook, which is what we really want. Well, somebody has a handbook. I do. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Well, anything else? I really thank you for coming.
You're very welcome.
I think it's very worthwhile.
I would look forward to the opportunity to work with you.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, of course.
He's my chauffeur tonight.
Okay. That being said, we'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, the student representation report. Ms. Fox.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairperson, Superintendent Lynch, and all other school committee members. The girls' basketball team has been playing hard this season and continues to put their all into each game this season. They continue to have some exciting wins, including an away win at Mystic Valley Regional. The team currently has a record of 12 wins and 3 losses. The boys basketball team has not ceased to work hard this season either, and have remained competitive in their games. They continue to grow as a team as the younger players are learning to compete at the varsity level. The team lost a close game to Greater Lawrence on Tuesday evening. The wrestling team has been rigorously practicing, and it is paying off as they have been doing well in recent competitions. This past weekend, the team had a successful meet, securing 4 wins and continuing to have one of their best seasons. The team's record is 20 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie, which is the best in the program's history. The cheerleading team has kept working hard on the winter routine and supporting the basketball teams. They continue to prepare and compete in competitions. The boys hockey team has been working hard all season, and as the season continues, the Amesbury-Whittier players continue to work together and are improving each week. The team plays Newburyport this evening. The yearbook club has been planning their material to enter into the yearbook to make it as beautiful and composed as possible. They're working on the cover design and continue to develop the layout. The drama club continues to work hard toward making this year's musical Grease another success. The variety of vocational areas are helping to create set pieces while the cast is perfecting their lines, songs, and dances. Participation is strong as there are over 40 students involved in many aspects of the production. The environmental club continues to collect recycling around the school to help the environment and support their mission. The Multicultural Club recently enjoyed a presentation on multicultural and multiracial society in America in honor of Martin Luther King Day. At the end of the month, the members also got to enjoy a presentation about the French and Francophone culture and tried a traditional French dessert. The winter weather has not hindered key club members from working for the community as they have continued to complete their individual community service hours. Students are planning on attending a district convention on leadership opportunities in the future. The chess club continues to meet every week with 8 to 12 members meeting each week. Players of all skill types get to enjoy the intellectual game as they continue to welcome any new members. This year's district Skills USA event will be taking place next month on March 10th at Greater Lowell Vocational Technical High School. We're sending more students than ever before, with 205 Whittier kids attending this year. Earlier this year, 12 students competed in the Leadership Skills USA competition and won a total of 26 medals. The robotics team has been working on the challenge for the upcoming competition every day after school. So far, they have completed a design plan that is sure to be competitive in this year's competition. The team has built many of the field elements out of wood to practice for the event. They have a rough prototype at this point and plan to have it completed later this month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Saffron, do we have a date yet for the spring musical?
I don't have it with me. It is in March, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it's the second weekend in March,
So
like
it's
March.
after our next meeting, so we
Yes.
would have the date
Yes.
then, or maybe you could
I will definitely let you know.
try to open it before the next
I'll
meeting.
send an email. Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's online, isn't it?
Lisa might have it.
18, 19, 20.
18, 19th, and 20th.
Okay,
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you.
all right.
I'm glad that we got a lot of things happening outside of just athletics, which is really
Yeah.
impressive. Probably, is that you doing all that? Yeah, good.
Wow.
All right, now it's time for the superintendent's report. Ms. Lynch.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Today for personal action, for informational purposes only, there's higher letters for the biology MCAS retest after-school program, the MCAS ELA and math after-school program, our evening school second semester program, and winter cheerleading. Also before you today are resignations for a maintenance mechanic, a math instructor, health occupations instructor, and cosmetology instructor. Budget update, the executive subcommittee met earlier this evening and reduced the budget from 8.68% to 5.898% budget increase for next year. We will be meeting again before our next regular scheduled meeting, and we'll further reduce from those numbers. MCAS update, Whittier is running 2 MCAS after-school program. One is in biology for juniors who took the MCAS retest February 1st through 2nd. The other is for grade 10 Title I students in ELA and math to prepare them for the upcoming spring MCAS exams. Superintendent's update, on Thursday, January 14th, I met with my mentor, Joan Conley. We reviewed my entry plan. On Friday, January 15th, I attended the Merrimack Valley Chamber Mayors and Managers meeting with Beverly DeSalvo, our vocational coordinator. At this meeting, local mayors and town managers reviewed their priorities for the fiscal year 2017. On Tuesday, January 19th, I attended the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools meeting at Assabet Valley Tech with our business manager, Kara Cosmas. This was the last of 4-session series for new superintendents and business managers, and all 4 workshops were very worthwhile. On Wednesday, January 20th, I attended the Superintendent Mentor Program in Marlborough. On Wednesday, January 20th, Chris Leganis, the principal, and I attended a meeting with the Haverhill Police Department and the Haverhill Fire Department, along with Superintendent Scully and members of the Haverhill School Department to review emergency protocols. On Friday, January 22nd, I attended the Alliance for Vocational Technical Education, the importance of career and vocational technical education in Massachusetts, and this was at the Federal Reserve Bank in Boston. Beverly DeSauer, our vocational coordinator, attended this event with me. Governor Baker, Secretary of Education James Pizer, Secretary of Housing and Economic Development Jay Ash, and Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development Ronald Walker were in attendance. They announced the expansion of vocational education in Massachusetts. On Tuesday, January 26th, I attended the Merrimack Valley Workforce Investment Board quarterly meeting at Southwick and Haverhill. On Thursday, January 28th, I attended the Massachusetts Association of Superintendents Midwinter meeting in Marlborough. The Superintendents Association had behavior analyst Jessica Minahan and Dr. Ross Green speak about the social emotional health of students. On Friday, January 29th, I attended the MAVA Board of Directors meeting at Assabet Valley Tech. On Tuesday, February 2nd, I hosted the area superintendents meeting at Whittier. In attendance were Superintendent Christopher Farmer and Brian Forget, Superintendent-elect from Triton, Superintendent Carol Jacobs from Georgetown, Superintendent Gary Reese from Amesbury, and Tracy Wagner, the Director of Teaching and Learning from Ipswich. On Wednesday, February 3rd, I attended the Merrimack Valley Superintendents Association meeting with Patricia Lowell, our Director of Pupil Personnel Services. And on Tuesday, February 9th, I attended the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools general meeting at Neshoba with Kara Cosmas, our business manager. The agenda included discussion on foundation enrollment, Chapter 70 funds, and regional transportation. Also before you today, I have the establishment of scholarships. I have one from Haverhill Bank for $1,000. Lowell 5-cent Savings Bank for $500. The Jean Haas Foundation is donating $15,000 to support the scholarship program to benefit a graduating senior currently enrolled or enrolling in machining-based training. A $1,000 scholarship from Newburyport 5-cent Savings Bank. A $1,000 from Pentucket Bank. And then a $1,000 scholarship from Provident Bank.
Mr. Chairman,
One correction, I believe April Bank gave 2 $1,000 scholarships.
But my apologies.
in Pentucket also.
Kentucky did as well.
2?
What it says.
I just want to make sure they get credit.
Yep, thank you, I appreciate that.
Was it in the packet?
Mr. Chairman,
Is there a motion?
I'd like to move that we accept 2 $1,000 scholarships from the Haverhill Bank and thank Thomas Mortimer, the president and CEO of the bank.
Want to do them all at once or one at a time?
I think we'll do them one at a time.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept
Unanimous.
Lowell 5-cent Savings Bank $500 scholarship. And would like to thank Allison Coleman for this generous scholarship from the Lowell 5-cent Bank. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we accept the Newburyport 5-cent Savings Bank donation of $1,000 to our scholarship for a graduating regional VOTEC high school senior. And would like to thank Janice Morse, president of the bank, of the Newburyport 5-cent Bank.
Second.
All in favor? please say
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we accept a Provident Bank $1,000 scholarship for a senior in the low to moderate income bracket who resides in Salisbury, Amesbury, or Newburyport. And we'd like to thank Dave Mansfield, president of the bank. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Should you,
Yes.
Has to abstain.
Yeah, you abstain, one abstention. Yes, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we accept from the Pentucket Bank 2 $1,000 scholarships to benefit a Whittier Regional Votech High School senior. And we would like to thank Scott Cody, President and CEO of the Pentucket Bank, for these generous scholarships.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
And last but not least, we would like to thank very much the Gene Haas Foundation for donating $15,000 to support the scholarship program to benefit graduating Whittier Regional Votech High School seniors currently enrolled in or will be enrolling in a machine-based training program at the college level. And we would like to thank them for this generous scholarship donation.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Missed
Yeah,
that
did
one.
all 6 of them. Yeah, you got them all.
Okay.
Are these scholarships, they're given out prior to graduation or during the
During
graduation?
graduation.
Shops.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'm requesting a field trip, an overnight field trip, to Springfield, Mass., the Marriott Hotel with the Key Club. And the date for this field trip is April 8th through April 10th. There'll be 12 students attending this field trip.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to accept?
Second?
Second?
There's all the paper on file.
Yes, or it will be.
Any other?
Will be.
Well, please, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one more request. We're looking for a snow date for a field trip to Gunstock. Currently, they're planning on going February 27th, which you approved. But in case of snow, in a case the field trip was canceled, I'd like a backup date for March 5th.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion to accept.
Second by Mr. Early, motion by Mrs. Gilbert.
So
Any
we
questions on
already
the fi-
approved the first date. Yes.
Yeah, so we're just voting to change the date.
But if it snows, if it gets canceled.
Snow, she can't go skiing.
Yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
Can
opposed?
I ask a
Yes.
question? Maureen, what is the, when we have overnight field trips, what's the ratio of adults, supervisors to the students?
We've been keeping it about 6 to 1. It's a pretty low ratio. This field trip, there are 12 students going, and there will be 2 adults.
Okay.
That's good. Is that it, mate?
Outside projects.
Yes.
For the month of February, Georgetown, today, there was a culinary luncheon for the Georgetown Council on Aging, and that was at the Senior Center. In Georgetown, the carpentry program's been working at Pearlie Elementary School, renovating various areas, and they're ready for the project to begin. And in Merrimack, we've been doing graphics, printing for the town, business cards, and building permits. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions in regards to the superintendent's report? None being heard, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Mr. Lagana, the principal.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, and rest of the school committee members. If you could believe it, the school year is more than half over, and all our students have completed midterm exams and third quarter has begun. We held last Thursday night, our Parents' Night, February 4th, for all academic courses. Our vocational coordinator, Bev DeSalvo, ran an informational session for parents and students to help guide them through the process of choosing their technical areas and their technical programs for the following year. Our guidance counselors are out and about and doing interviews at the middle schools. And this year's play, Alicia stole my thunder, is Grease, March 18th, 19th, and 20th. So, and to date, and I hope I'm not jinxing us, but we have 2 snow days, and our last day for the children, June 17th. So
Oh, nice.
hopefully we don't get any more storms, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for the principal? Thank you, Mr. Now time for the next agenda item, business manager, Ms. Cosmos.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, members of the committee. A couple of things on the agenda tonight under my portion. First of all is the establishment of a stabilization fund. And you have in your packet a memorandum in which we provided an outline of what a stabilization fund may be used for, how it's funded, and how it's approved. I want to point out that each of Whittier's member towns and cities, as well as the regional districts which are nearby here, all have stabilization funds, as do many regional school districts across the state. Because Whittier functions legally as a municipality and we are responsible for funding all of the costs associated with the district, it's a great way to be proactive in long-range planning. Once it is established, the district treasurer, who is with us this evening in case you have questions for her, she has the fiduciary responsibility to manage the stabilization fund. The fund is annually reported to the Department of Revenue, and we're also required to send statements annually to each of our member district communities. The school committee is the first line to approve this fund. It needs a majority vote of this committee, at which point we then send a warrant to cities and towns, and they have to have a majority vote to establish the fund before we can start to use it. I welcome any questions.
Yes.
Kara, where do you get the money to begin this fund? Where does that come from?
The money to fund a stabilization account can be from a couple of ways, but a lot of times what happens is it is shifted from E&D, and what most communities do is they determine how much they want to fund in a stabilization fund. Let's say you were planning for a long-term capital plan and you knew you were going to have some excess and deficiency money in there, or you knew you needed to fund this, but you were a few years away out for it. You would actually put a line in the budget funding the stabilization fund, and you can get that from either a budgetary item or you can transfer E&D money, and you can do that ahead of time if you're doing some long-range planning. So it's a line item that you establish and you transfer the money through the regular budget process. We can't do it this year because it has to be approved before you can do that. But let's say next year, let's say we knew we were going to get into the pipeline for MSBA and we wanted to try to fund it over 2 years so we wouldn't have to burden the communities with coming up with the money for the feasibility. You could ostensibly start taking money from E&D and shifting it there for that specific purpose over a series of years.
Okay, I have another question. Is it easily accessible? I mean, what if we had a year where we had a really severe budget shortfall? Something happened. We can't access our E&D. Can you access the stabilization fund?
Well, technically you can access the E&D, but in order to access the E&D, you would have to go back to each of your member communities and go to town or city meeting and have a vote, which could be a long process, and it might not pass, and it would be difficult.
Do you mean
You
stabilization
said
or
E&D.
E&D?
You could. I just wanted to clarify that you could use E&D, but the process would be very, very cumbersome. Let's say you had an emergency. You said that you couldn't use your E&D. You could, but you would have to go back to 11 cities and towns and get their vote at town meeting to do that. So that's why you wouldn't want to use E&D.
Okay.
Stabilization, you could. That's not one of the specific purposes allowed for school committee appropriation, but you could petition the Department of Education and Secondary, DESE, for permission to use it for operating purposes. Specifically, stabilization is technically for long-range or expensive projects for which you are allowed to borrow money. But there is something in the law that does allow you to go back if you had a budgetary crisis and ask DESE for permission to use it for that. So how do you have to go back to your cities and towns? No.
that was my
Once you
next question.
establish a stabilization account, the school committee can appropriate those funds and does not have to go back to cities and towns for permission to use it, which is why it would be a much more expedient way to fund an emergency project than going to E&D. Did I confuse you?
I'm confused only because I didn't realize we needed permission from the towns to access our E&D accounts.
You do. Typically, when
think
you've
I ever
used
knew
it,
that.
you've used it in the past. Well, this year we're proposing something, and a couple of years ago, it's been part of the budget. So when they voted the budget, they voted the usage of E&D.
Oh.
But if
I
you
s-
were off
right,
of budget
okay.
cycle,
Yes, then we would have to do that.
somebody raised the issue about last year when we had the
Yeah.
project with the problem with the roof, and we had to come up with some out-of-pocket funds. It was $40,000 and we could absorb it. But let's say it was $400,000 and we didn't have the money in the budget and we didn't have any reserves. We could have used our E&D for this, but we would have had to have gone back and requested a town meeting for approval of that. So,
How do you
that's
do
the
that in the
difference.
off-cycle?
I'm sorry?
11 communities aren't just gonna call a town meeting because we need $400,000.
Exactly, and that's one of the advantages to the stabilization. Once you have the money in there, the school committee appropriates it and approves it when they need it, not the 11-member communities. You avoid having to go back to town meeting and city council.
Mr. Early.
Learn something every day.
We had the chiller fund
Correct.
for a long time, you know, year after year after year, correct? So basically, it's gonna be a fund similar to that, but just basically another name.
Well, a little bit differently. I believe that Mr. DeRosa mentioned the chiller fund. They came down from DOR and said that you could not have that account. It was not
After a while,
within
it came
the
into
Mass General laws. This is a way within the Mass General laws to be able to do something like that. If you knew you wanted to fund the chiller project, exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
Does this, so this is gonna show up as one of the line items on the budget that we have to go back to our towns and as one more line item,
Not this year.
but when it does, that's,
2 years. It would be
and-
in your budget line item.
right, and how, since we don't know what projects we're actually planning for, how much are we planning to put in percentage-wise or annual-wise, total-wise, that
Well,
you're
you can only
targeting?
put in annually 5% of your budget unless you have permission from the Department of Revenue to do more. Since that would be roughly $1 million, I don't think that we would ever get to that point. It would be basically as determined through the budget cycle that you have a desire to do something in the future, or you have a specific project in mind and you want to allocate funds from E&D or as a budget line item into your stabilization. So it's
So
school
it'll be up
committee.
to us to decide
It would
how
be up
much
to the
we
school
wanna,
committee. Absolutely.
just try and put through and talk to our towns about.
Yes. And what happens at the town level is when they have that warrant article with the total budget, usually they either have a total operating budget or a capital budget. This actually becomes part of your total operating budget. So when they approve it with the bottom line that they approve at budget time.
And this is, we're saying we need this to, I guess why do we think we need this?
Well, I started to explain earlier, we are a municipality.
Right,
If something goes wrong, I used the example earlier, in the city of Newburyport, and the school system has a special ed problem, let's say, we hear a lot about that. They have a special ed problem, they're gonna go into deficit budget because they received an out-of-district student who threw them over. They can go to their city, and the city has to make up the difference. They have a city, their school department within a city, within a municipality. We're the municipality. We have nowhere to go except our 11 communities. So should that happen to us, we would have to go back and call 11 town meetings. And as they said, that would not necessarily happen very expeditiously. We have to have reserves, which is why these places have stabilization funds, to become self-reliant for unexpected items as well as to plan for the future.
is there a cap on this fund?
No, it can accumulate. It's a cap of how much you can put in annually, I believe 5%, which, again, that would be $1 million, and we don't have any intention of
No, I mean
looking at
annual,
that.
I mean a total cap on
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Yeah, and one, if I might, just for clarification, Kara's looked into, I asked this question earlier, all of our member sending communities and our sending districts already have a stabilization account. So we're not asking them for anything that they don't already have and know about.
Themselves.
We're sort of behind on establishing a stabilization account.
I understand, but that's one,
Most towns don't have an E&D account, do they? Regular
Yeah, they
communities don't have an E&D account, do they?
Most do.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
They do.
It
And
They
they
call
have
it
free cash accounts.
Yeah, free
So-
cash.
If I
Ms.
can
Lynch.
just answer a little, one of the reasons for the stabilization account is first planning for our future here. We did put in for an MSBA study, we did not get it. And the fear is that 3 cities and towns within our district did. So we need to start taking care of some of the projects here within our own school. And part of the way for us to do that is to start saving some money in the stabilization account. I don't expect there to be a large number in that account in the near future, but I do hope that if we do get in the pipeline, that at least it will pay for the self-study, you know, and that's $100,000 or so. Am I correct, Kara? About $100,000.
A self-study would be about $800,000. So we would, if we didn't have some money put aside, and that's a time-sensitive item. You have to do that when you're in the pipeline within so many months. We'd have to go back for a capital assessment or an additional assessment to the cities and towns for $800,000, which is double what they're paying now.
I understand the importance of it. It's just one more thing that we have to go back into our towns and talk about and justify. And we already have enough issues when we have to justify every expense. So I just need to make sure that this is not going to become this, in 3 years, people will go, guys, you have a huge amount sitting in there. Why are you coming back asking for 4% instead of 3%? You know, how do I defend that? You know, do we have a plan? Do we have a specific thing that, well, in another 3 years, this is the project that we're saving for? If we have specific projects, that's great. If it's some nebulous, well, just in case, well, we have to be cautious of how much we're going because, you know, towns will say, well, maybe you don't need that much. So.
Well, just off the top, I think you might remember the superintendent saying after the bleacher project, the other thing that she was very concerned about, as was the maintenance director, is the boilers. So we could allocate funds to start the payment of the boiler replacement. A boiler replacement would not impede anything that we would have done with a future MSBA reimbursement, but we may have to do that on our own.
Okay.
And I think we're just planning. I think it's more of us making sure that we have a plan in place. And us being a part of the MSBA study was part of that. We do know what needs to get taken care of. Everything looks great, but you get behind the walls here a little bit, and things aren't in such great shape.
I have, like I said, I have no problem with the planning. It's just that this is going to be another. We have to just be able to justify it.
Absolutely.
Back in our town. So it's something we have to. And we're saying to the town, yeah, we want to collect some money and we want to be able to spend quicker because it takes too long to go talk to all you people. Now, I mean, in a nutshell, that's what we're saying. So, and to some level they understand, and to another level they say, well, wait a minute, you're taking some of our control away from us. So it's a fine line we have to walk on this.
Mr. Early.
Russ, the reason why I brought up that chiller account, we had that, we were just basically using the name chiller account, am I correct? For many, many years, and then eventually the state stepped in. So we do need some kind of rainy day funding in here, because every city and town has some rainy day fund, no matter what they call it. But I'm gonna make a recommendation that we approve this.
I'll second that.
Is that a form of a motion?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Early. Is there a second?
Yep.
Mr. Lesage. Any more discussion? I think Ms. Lynch is right. We have a little bit of a caveat, because we do have the report, the study we took for the school that shows some areas that within the next 2 or 3 years are definitely gonna have to be addressed. So we should, I think we're making a good step forward, and I agree with you, Russ. You know, we have to walk a thin line on this, especially where I'm hearing through areas that I'm involved with, it's gonna be another tough budget year, so,
Yes, it is.
yeah. Are there any comments on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Cobb.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kara.
And the second item is also, there was a memo in there about a year ago. We asked you to approve the setting up of a regional transportation fund. And the reason for this was because transportation reimbursement fluctuates from year to year. And sometimes they cut it, and sometimes they don't. And last year happened to be one of the years that they actually added to it at the end of the year. which could become problematic for districts because it goes into E&D. So we established it as a revolving account so that it stands on its own. At the end of the year, we received additional funds because Governor Baker funded it at close to 72% when we were expecting it closer to 60%. So when the year ended, we had a balance of $295,586.82. We feel comfortable that the funds that we put in the budget for this year will come in as expected. So we are asking the school committee to appropriate up to that amount so that we can now use that to procure replacement school buses. In the past, we put school buses in the capital assessment. This year, we have funds in the revolving account. We would like to use the funds in the revolving account to replace the school buses.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Tucker.
I move that we appropriate $295,586.82 from our, what did you call it, our revolving account?
From the
Regional
Regional
Transportation
Transportation Revolving Account.
Right, Regional Transportation Revolving Account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs.
Good
Gilmore.
question.
Any questions?
Yeah, how many buses does that buy?
About
That will buy,
84,000 apiece.
Probably 3 buses and maybe a 15-passenger bus. We still have 6 buses that need to be replaced. So we're going to try to put in as many as we can with this.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure how much a bus costs.
It depends, about 70,000, but we're going to do the bid, up to X number of buses, so that we'll
Okay.
see if we decide to buy more, the price may come in less, and we may be able to replace more.
Mr. Early.
Some 4 or 5 years ago, we talked about this, the leasing. We can look at possibly leasing some more buses as well as going down this route.
Yes, Karen and I have been discussing leasing.
And the reason why I say that, I know we've got 2 or 3 spare buses which are probably ready to get turned in. And let's not shortchange ourselves. We have a great transportation program going here, and don't nickel and dime on the buses. We need them. Let's put the money where we have to on them.
I think we made the conscious decision, and agree with you, that we would lease X number of buses and would own certain numbers to keep those other buses in the mileage on the lease. So I think these are gonna, mostly for after-school activities and sports.
I think we will be able to lease more buses this time. We've been tracking the mileage, and she rotates the buses, so I think we might be able to lease more than we did the last time, so that we can use our own owned buses for the after-school, and we're going to be looking into that. That's going to come up next year, and we will be looking at different options, if we lease 10, if we lease 15, if we lease 12, and we'll be back to you with that information when that time comes.
I do have one quick
Go ahead.
question. How many buses do we have
I think we have about 23 or 24, and
running daily?
about 22, and we lease 10 of them, and we run 12 of our own, so we think we can go up on the leased.
Beautiful, thank you.
I also think Mr. Lesage would agree that we should definitely take a look at the propane buses this time.
We intend to do that. We heard you loud and clear, and we will be looking at that. And luckily, Boston has started that, so we'll be able to capitalize on their experience with that, good or bad.
You could probably take a field trip out there.
We could.
Ride a bus.
We'll take a bus.
Centonio. All right. Good to vote. Oh, yes.
I just had one.
Yes, Ms.
one
True.
question. Last year, I think the cities and towns were assessed a capital assessment that had to do with the buses.
Last year, the
purchase-
capital assessment was for 2 buses and the sawdust collector.
Right.
Because we have money this year in the revolving, we don't have to, the capital assessment is for something different.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Cosmos? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you. Moving along on the agenda, we now go to the committee reports. Under the chair, February annual agenda items, the budget review. The executive council did meet, executive committee did meet tonight to review the budget, and the update is that we have instructed the administration under the guidance of Ms. Lynch to reduce another 1%, and then that'll go into the workshop, which is scheduled for next month, and then we'll go from there. But, I just want everybody to know, as a little bit of a side comment, that our net school spending has gone up somewhat substantially because of our increased enrollment, so the amount of money that we have to go to net school spending has gone up, and that's affected some of the budget on in the increase for the operating part of the budget. Okay. On the March agenda items, I'd like to get that self-evaluation. Please try to get that done and send it to the school. Huh? Are we gonna bring it? Say what?
Do we have it?
Where is it?
I didn't give it yet.
Oh,
In March.
oh, so we're not gonna do it next month?
Comes out in March.
Oh, we're gonna be a month ahead? Because usually it takes 2 months just to get them back. I figure we could.
Put them in the packet and we do it, and then we could
Yeah,
bring them
why don't we
with us
put
to the
it,
meeting.
why don't we put it online?
Yeah.
Just for those who wanna get a head start. Okay, and of course, we have the budget review, which we'll go through under our meeting dates. Okay. Under subcommittees, the executive, we had the report, we have the minutes of January the 13th.
Move to accept.
Second.
Second. They were self-explanatory, I thought. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I abstain. Okay. Dr. Testaverde's not here. Is, anything on the instruction you know about?
Not this time?
Not this time. Plan operations, Mr. Tucker.
Plan operations has not met.
Let me see, need a meeting in the
I know
future.
I have not received any requests.
Okey-doke. Salary negotiation, Mr. Burns.
We have not met because we don't have to.
That's a good reason. Okay. Policy, Mr. Irving's not here. I think
We haven't met anyway, so there hasn't been a need till the spring, we thought.
right, we went through all those
Yeah,
massive
yep, we did.
meeting dates. March the 9th at 5:30 PM. We'll have our annual budget workshop. All the information will be given out. And then after that, we'll have our regular meeting at 7 PM. Any questions on the budget workshop? Yes,
All members are expected to attend this.
yes. Yeah. This will be going to over the final maturation, so to speak, of the budget. New business? Anybody have any new business they want to bring up? I just had one question, and it's since, as Mr. Tucker said, we get a lot of recently scholarships. Is there a way, are those usually a one-year scholarship?
Yes.
Right. We kind of make a note of that on the, down at the bottom.
Mhm.
Yeah. As opposed to some like 4 years, or some ongoing forever,
Mhm.
And that way we don't, I'm saying, geez, every year we get all these scholarships.
It'd almost be nice to just have a spreadsheet saying all the people that have given us
Yeah,
scholarships.
I know,
Hard to keep track of,
Yeah.
but several $1,000s each month, I
Right.
can't.
And I know that we have the ones during graduation, but my understanding is that there's other scholarships given out at the.
Combination of both.
Combination, yeah. Okay. Executive session, we have no need, we have no need for that tonight, so, I think the next step is a motion to adjourn. Mr. Burns, second by Mr.
Yourselves
Galindo.
here.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.